When I placed the roasted lamb on the dining table I had set with my best china, my daughter-in-law Vanessa looked up from her phone and said with a cold smile, "You know what, Helen? I think it's time. Pack your bags this weekend. We need this space for the nursery." The words hung in the air like poison. My son David continued eating his salad as if his wife hadn't just told his mother to leave her own home. My daughter Emily, who had come for Sunday dinner, dropped her fork with a clatter. "Pack your bags." In the house I had lived in for 38 years. The house my husband Richard and I had bought together when David was 3 years old. Asterisk. If you want to know what happened next and what I showed her that changed everything, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything. Thank you, and let's continue. Asterisk. I stood there holding the serving spoon, looking at Vanessa. She was 7 months pregnant, her hand resting on her belly with that proprietary gesture she had perfected. The gesture that said, this house, this family, this life, was now hers to control. "Vanessa," Emily said carefully, "I think there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," Vanessa interrupted. "David and I have been discussing this. With the baby coming, we need more space. Helen can find a nice apartment somewhere. Something smaller, more manageable for a woman her age." A woman my age. I was 66 years old. I worked part-time as a bookkeeper. I maintained this 4-bedroom house and its half-acre garden by myself. I was far from needing to be managed. "This is Mom's house," Emily said, her voice rising. "You can't just kick her out." "Actually," Vanessa said, taking a sip of wine, "David inherited this house when his father died 2 years ago. We've been gracious enough to let Helen stay, but now we have priorities. Family priorities. David inherited this house." The lie was so confident, so complete, that for a moment I almost doubted my own memory. But I didn't doubt it. I knew exactly what was in Richard's will. I had been there when he signed it with our lawyer, Mr. Patterson, 6 months before he died. I had let David and Vanessa move in 14 months ago. They had been living in an expensive downtown apartment, drowning in student loans and credit card debt. When they found out they were pregnant, they came to me in tears. "Mom, we can't afford to bring a baby into that tiny apartment. We can't afford anything bigger. Could we stay with you just for a little while? Just until we get on our feet?" I had said yes, because that's what mothers do. I had cleared out the guest rooms. I had helped them move their furniture. I had cooked meals and done their laundry and babysat their dog while they went on weekend trips. And somewhere along the way, Vanessa had convinced herself that my generosity was her entitlement. "Vanessa," I said quietly, "this house is not David's." "Of course it is," she laughed. "Parents leave houses to their children. That's how inheritance works. And now it's time for you to move on." "David," I turned to my son, "do you want to tell her, or should I?" He finally looked up from his plate, his face red. "Mom, let's not do this now. We can talk about it later, privately." "No," I said firmly. "We're going to talk about it now, in front of everyone. Tell your wife who owns this house." The silence was deafening. David looked at Vanessa, then at me, then at his hands. The same hands I had held when he learned to walk, the same hands I had bandaged when he fell off his bike, the same hands that couldn't seem to defend me now. "David inherited it," Vanessa said, her voice taking on an edge. "Richard left everything to his son. That's what families do." "Richard left everything to me," I said clearly. "This house is mine. The deed is in my name. It has been in my name since 1987, and it will stay in my name until I die." Vanessa's face went pale, then red. "That's not possible." David told you what you wanted to hear," Emily interjected. "Because that's what David does. He avoids conflict." "This is ridiculous," Vanessa stood up, her hand on her belly. "David, tell her about the inheritance, about the house." David finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mom owns the house, Vanessa. She always has." I watched the realization wash over Vanessa's face. Not embarrassment, not apology, just cold calculation as she recalculated her position. "Well," she said after a moment, "that's a minor detail. Obviously, when Helen passes, the house will go to David anyway. So really, what's the difference?" "The difference," I said, "is that I'm not dead, and I'm not leaving my own home. But we need the space." Vanessa's voice took on a whine. "We're having a baby, your grandchild. Don't you want what's best for your grandchild?" I want my grandchild to have parents who respect their elders and don't lie about property ownership. David. Vanessa turned to him, her voice sharp. Are you going to let your mother talk to me like this? I'm your wife. I'm carrying your child. Where's your loyalty? And there it was, the question that had been hanging unspoken for 14 months. Where was his loyalty? David looked between us, trapped, weak, unwilling to choose either side definitively. Can't we all just calm down and discuss this reasonably? There's nothing to discuss, I said. This is my house. You two are guests here. Guests I welcomed out of love and concern. But guests nonetheless. Guests, Vanessa repeated, her voice dripping with sarcasm. We've been living here for over a year. We've put money into this place. We bought the new refrigerator. We paid for the roof repairs. The roof repairs that I reimbursed you for, I reminded her. Every penny. That's not the point. The point is, we've made this our home. We've built our life here. And now you want to what? Throw us out? Throw out your pregnant daughter-in-law? No one's throwing anyone out, I said carefully. But I am making it clear that this is my home, my house. And if you want to continue living here, you will treat me with respect. Respect? Vanessa laughed bitterly. You want respect? How about gratitude? We've been taking care of you, keeping you company, making sure you're not lonely in this big house all by yourself. And this is how you repay us? Taking care of me. I who cooked their meals. I who cleaned their rooms. I who paid the utilities and property taxes and insurance. I who had watched them drain my wine collection and break my dishes and leave their mess everywhere. I was taking care of them, not the other way around. I think, I said slowly, that you have fundamentally misunderstood the situation. You seem to think I'm some lonely old widow who should be grateful for your company. Let me be clear. I am a homeowner who generously allowed you to live here rent-free while you got on your feet. That arrangement continues only as long as I choose. Mom? David finally found his voice. Vanessa's pregnant. Hormones are making her emotional. Can we please just let this go? No, I said. We cannot let this go. Your wife just told me to pack my bags and leave my own house. That's not hormones, David. That's entitlement. Vanessa grabbed her purse. I don't have to sit here and be insulted. David, we're leaving. You're not leaving, I said. We're going to finish dinner like adults. And then we're going to have a serious conversation about expectations and boundaries. I don't take orders from you, Vanessa shot back. In my house, you do. Emily, who had been watching this exchange like a tennis match, suddenly stood up. I think I should get something. Mom, where's that folder Mr. Patterson gave you? The one with Dad's will and all the property documents? In my office. Top drawer. Emily left the room. Vanessa watched her go with narrowed eyes. What folder? The folder that contains the deed to this house, the will, and some other documents that I think you need to see. Why would I need to see them? Because, I said calmly, there are some conditions attached to my ownership that you should probably know about. David looked up sharply. What conditions? Emily returned with a thick manila folder and placed it on the table. I opened it carefully, pulling out the will first. When your father died, I said, looking at David, he left me this house with very specific instructions. Shall I read them? Mom, this isn't necessary, David started. Oh, I think it is, Emily said. Read it, Mom. I found the relevant passage and read aloud. I leave my house at 847 Oakwood Drive to my beloved wife, Helen Margaret Harrison, to be her sole and exclusive property for the duration of her natural life. Upon her death, the property shall pass to our son David Richard Harrison, with the following condition. If at any time David or his family attempts to force Helen from her home, coerce her into selling, or otherwise deprive her of her peaceful enjoyment of the property, David shall forfeit all inheritance rights, and the property shall instead pass to our daughter Emily Ann Harrison. The silence that followed was absolute. Vanessa's face had gone white. That's not legal. You can't put conditions like that on property. Actually, I said, you can. It's called a conditional inheritance. And Mr. Patterson, our lawyer, made sure it was ironclad. David, Vanessa's voice was shrill now. Do something! But David just sat there, staring at the will, watching his inheritance slip away with every word his wife had spoken that evening. So you see, I said quietly, when you told me to pack my bags and leave, you weren't just being cruel, you were actively threatening your husband's inheritance. This house is worth about $900,000. That's what you almost threw away. Vanessa opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. For the first time since I'd met her, she had nothing to say. Now, I said, shall we finish dinner and talk about how we're going to move forward? Or would you prefer to pack your bags instead? The dinner that followed was the most uncomfortable meal I had ever sat through in my own house. Vanessa picked at her food, her face cycling through expressions of shock, anger, and calculation. David stared at his plate as if it held the answers to all his problems. Emily ate with quiet satisfaction. After 30 minutes of painful silence, Vanessa finally spoke. That will isn't fair. I took a sip of water before responding. Fair to whom? To us. To David. To your grandchild. She placed her hand on her belly again, using the baby as a shield. You're holding David's inheritance hostage. I'm protecting myself, I corrected. Your father, I looked at David, wanted to make sure no one could force me out of my home. He saw too many widows pushed aside by their own children. He made sure I would be safe. Safe from your own son? Vanessa's voice dripped with sarcasm. That's a lovely thing to assume about your child. Richard didn't assume anything. He planned for possibilities, and tonight proved he was right to do so. David finally found his voice. Mom, I would never force you out. You know that. Do I? I asked gently. Because 30 minutes ago, you sat silent while your wife told me to pack my bags. You didn't defend me. You didn't correct her. You let her believe she had the right to evict me from my own home. I was going to say something. When, David? After I was gone? He had no answer. How long have you known? I asked. How long have you known about the condition in your father's will? Since the reading, he admitted. Mr. Patterson explained it all to me 2 years ago. And you never told Vanessa? I thought it wouldn't matter. I thought we'd all get along. Vanessa turned on him, her voice sharp. You knew? You knew there was a condition and you didn't tell me? I didn't think you'd try to kick Mom out. I didn't try to kick her out. I suggested she might be more comfortable in a smaller place. There's a difference. No, I said firmly. There isn't. Vanessa, let me be very clear about something. When you said pack your bags, that was an attempt to force me from my home. Under the terms of my husband's will, that attempt means David has forfeited his inheritance. This house will now go to Emily when I die. The color drained from Vanessa's face. Wait, what? You heard me. The moment you tried to evict me, the condition was triggered. But I didn't know about the condition. That's not fair. You can't hold me responsible for something I didn't know about. The condition doesn't require knowledge. It requires action. And you took that action. David, do something. Vanessa grabbed his arm. Call that lawyer. This can't be legal. We'll fight it. You can fight it, I said calmly. Mr. Patterson is expecting you might. He wrote the will specifically to withstand challenges. But you're welcome to spend your money on lawyers if you'd like. Emily spoke up for the first time in minutes. You know what's really interesting? Dad put that condition in the will 3 years before he died, long before Vanessa was even in the picture. He just wanted to protect Mom from anyone who might take advantage of her. Take advantage? Vanessa's voice rose. We've been helping her. Living here, keeping her company, making sure she's not alone. You've been living here rent-free, I corrected. I pay all the utilities. I pay the property taxes. I pay the insurance. I buy most of the groceries. I cook most of the meals. I clean most of the house. So please, explain to me how you've been helping. We were saving money, Vanessa protested. For the baby, you said we could stay until we got on our feet. And I meant it. But getting on your feet doesn't mean taking over my house and trying to evict me from it. David finally looked up, his face anguished. So that's it? I've lost the house? Because of one mistake? One mistake? Emily's voice was cold. David, you've been letting Vanessa treat Mom like a guest in her own home for months. I've seen it, the little comments. The way she rearranges Mom's things. The way she talks about, when this is our house. This wasn't one mistake. This was the culmination of 14 months of entitlement. That's not true, Vanessa said, but her voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? I pulled out my phone and opened my notes app. Let me read you something I started keeping track of 6 months ago. June 15. Vanessa told me the living room furniture was too old-fashioned and needed to be replaced. When I said I liked it, she said she'd replace it herself once she and David owned the house. Should I continue? Vanessa's face went red. July 3. Vanessa invited her parents for the weekend without asking me. When I mentioned I had plans, she said I should be flexible since they'd be family soon and this would be their house to share. There are 43 entries, Vanessa. 43 times you made it clear you were just waiting for me to die or leave so you could take over. I never said that. You didn't have to say it explicitly. Every time you talked about the future, I wasn't in it. Every time you made plans for this house, you acted like I was temporary. David put his head in his hands. Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I thought you two were getting along. We were getting along, I said sadly, because I was biting my tongue. Because I was accepting behavior I shouldn't have accepted. Because I didn't want to cause problems for you. So what happens now? Vanessa asked, her voice small for the first time since I'd met her. Now, I said, we have a choice. Either you pack your bags and leave, or we establish new rules for living here. Rules? Vanessa's eyes narrowed. Like what? Like respecting that this is my home, like asking before you invite people over, like contributing to household expenses, like treating me like the homeowner I am, not an inconvenient elderly relative you're tolerating. We can't afford to pay rent, David said quickly. Not with the baby coming. I'm not asking for market rent, but you should contribute something. And more importantly, you should contribute respect. And if we do that, Vanessa asked carefully, what happens to the inheritance? I looked at my daughter. Emily shrugged. It's your call, Mom. Legally, the condition was triggered, but you're the executor. You have some discretion. I thought about it. About my son, who I had raised to be better than this. About the grandchild who would arrive in 2 months. About whether people could really change. If, I said slowly, and this is a very big if, you can prove over the next several months that you respect me and this house, I might be willing to discuss with Mr. Patterson whether there's any way to reverse the forfeiture. But Vanessa, let me be absolutely clear. One more comment like tonight, one more attempt to push me out, one more assumption that this house is yours, and it's over. Permanently. How do we prove it? David asked. By your actions. By treating me like a person instead of an obstacle. By acknowledging that you're guests here, not owners. For how long? Vanessa asked. How long do we have to prove ourselves? Until I decide you have, I said. This is my house, my rules. If you don't like those terms, you're free to leave. I watched Vanessa war with herself. Pride versus pragmatism. Anger versus financial reality. She looked at David, at her belly, at the expensive furniture they'd brought with them. Fine, she said finally. What are the rules? I pulled out a printed document from the folder. I had prepared it 3 days ago, after Vanessa had made yet another comment about changing my house. I had hoped I wouldn't need it, but I was glad I had it. Rule 1. You pay $800 per month for the 2 bedrooms you're using. That's well below market rate, but it establishes that you're tenants, not co-owners. $800? Vanessa gasped. We're family. Family pays rent when they live in someone else's house. Rule 2. You ask permission before inviting anyone to stay overnight. Rule 3. Any changes to the house require my approval. Rule 4. You maintain your own living spaces and contribute equally to common area cleaning. This is ridiculous, Vanessa muttered. Rule 5, I continued, and this is the most important one. You treat me with respect at all times. No more comments about this being your house. No more plans for after I'm gone. No more acting like I'm in the way of your life. And if we agree to all this, David asked, then we try again. We see if we can build a healthy living arrangement where everyone feels valued. And the inheritance? Stays with Emily unless you prove you deserve it back. That could take months. It could take years. Or it might never happen. That's up to you. Vanessa stood abruptly. I need air. This is too much. She walked out to the backyard, leaving David sitting at the table looking lost. David, I said gently, how did we get here? I don't know, Mom. Vanessa just... She has strong opinions about things. And I thought if I just went along with her, everything would be fine. I thought you'd understand. I understand that you're conflict averse. But your father and I didn't raise you to be a doormat. We raised you to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. I know. I'm sorry. Emily checked her phone. I should go. But Mom, call me if you need anything. And David, she looked at her brother. You need to grow a spine. Tonight was pathetic. After Emily left, David and I sat in silence. Through the window, I could see Vanessa pacing the backyard, talking on her phone. Who's she calling? I asked. Probably her mother. Vanessa tells Margaret everything. And what will Margaret say? She'll probably tell Vanessa to apologize and play nice until the baby is born. Then, reassess. That's very strategic. That's how Vanessa's family operates. Everything is a strategy. And you? How do you operate? David looked at me with tired eyes. I just want everyone to be happy, Mom. Is that so wrong? It's not wrong, but it's impossible. You can't make everyone happy all the time. Sometimes you have to choose. And tonight, when it mattered, you chose silence. I chose wrong, he admitted. Yes, you did. The question is, will you choose differently next time? Before he could answer, Vanessa came back inside. Her face was composed, calculated. I've decided, she announced. We'll stay. We'll follow your rules, and we'll prove that we deserve this house back. Not prove we respect you. Not prove we're grateful. Prove we deserve the house. It was telling. All right, I said. Then we start fresh tomorrow. First month's rent is due on the 1st. After they went upstairs to their rooms, I sat alone in my kitchen, the kitchen where I had made countless family meals, where I had celebrated birthdays and holidays, where I had cried when Richard died. I had won tonight's battle, but I had a feeling the war was just beginning, and I was going to need to be ready for whatever came next. The first week after the dinner, Vanessa was a model tenant. She smiled. She said please and thank you. She even offered to help with dishes. It was terrifying. I knew performance when I saw it. I had been a high school drama teacher for 30 years before I retired. Vanessa was acting, and she was good at it, but she wasn't good enough to fool me. On Friday morning, I heard her on the phone in the backyard while I was watering my roses. I know, Mom, I know, but we can't afford to move right now. Not with the baby coming. Yes, she's being completely unreasonable. No, I can't believe Richard would write something like that into his will. Of course, we'll get it overturned eventually. We just have to play nice for a few months. Trust me, once the baby is born, Helen will give us anything we want. Grandmothers always do. I stood very still behind the rose bushes, listening. David's being pathetic about the whole thing. He actually thinks his mother is being fair. I know, men are so weak. Look, I have to go. She might hear me. Love you too. I waited until she went inside before I moved. My hands were shaking as I finished watering the garden. Not from surprise I had expected this, but from confirmation. Vanessa hadn't learned anything. She was just biding her time. That afternoon, I called Mr. Patterson. Helen, he greeted me warmly. I was wondering when I'd hear from you. David called me last week asking about challenging the will. And what did you tell him? That it's ironclad. Richard and I spent weeks making sure there were no loopholes. The condition is clear, the trigger is documented, and the transfer of inheritance rights to Emily is automatic. Can they really not challenge it? They can try. But they'll lose, and it will cost them tens of thousands in legal fees. Vanessa doesn't seem to understand that. Most people don't understand estate law until it's too late. They think good intentions or family bonds override legal documents. They don't. Mr. Patterson, I need to ask you something. Is there any way they could claim I'm incompetent or unable to maintain the house? Any way they could get guardianship over me? There was a pause. Has someone suggested that? Not yet. But I know how Vanessa thinks. And if playing nice doesn't work, she'll escalate. Helen, you're 66 years old, in excellent health, working part-time, maintaining a house independently. No judge would grant guardianship. But if you're concerned, we can take preventive measures, a comprehensive health evaluation, a cognitive assessment, documentation that you're fully capable. Let's do it. All of it. I'll set it up for next week. Monday morning, Vanessa emerged from her bedroom at 9 a.m. to find breakfast already cleaned up and me working at the dining room table with papers spread everywhere. What's all this? She asked, pouring herself coffee. I'm organizing my finances. Tax season is coming up. You do your own taxes? I've done my own taxes for 40 years. Why wouldn't I? She looked at the papers, bank statements, investment portfolios, property documents. I saw her eyes calculating, trying to read numbers upside down. You have investments? Of course. Your father-in-law and I were careful with money. We didn't spend frivolously. How much do you have? The question came out before she could stop it. Then she tried to soften it. I mean, are you comfortable? Do you need help managing anything? I'm quite comfortable. And I manage everything myself. I watched her process this. She had assumed I was financially dependent, or at least financially stagnant. A widow living on a fixed income, barely getting by. The reality that I had substantial savings and investments was clearly not what she expected. "That's good," she said finally. "It's good that you're set up. For now," I said casually. "Of course, everything will go to Emily when I die." Her coffee cup paused halfway to her mouth. "Everything? The house, the investments, the savings, Richard's life insurance, my retirement accounts, everything goes to Emily now. But David forfeited his inheritance, remember? But that's just the house. Surely the other money is mine to distribute as I see fit? And I've updated my will to match Richard's wishes. Emily gets everything." I hadn't actually updated my will yet, but I would. And more importantly, I wanted to see Vanessa's reaction. Her face went through several emotions: shock, anger, calculation before settling on forced calm. That seems extreme. David made one mistake that revealed his character, or rather, his lack of it. He's your son, which is why this is so disappointing. Vanessa set down her coffee cup carefully. "Helen, I think we need to talk, really talk, about expectations." "I'm listening." "You're punishing David for something that was my fault. I'm the one who told you to leave. He didn't even know I was going to say that, but he didn't defend me when I did, because he was shocked, because he didn't want to cause a scene. That doesn't mean he doesn't love you or doesn't deserve his inheritance. Vanessa, love isn't passive. Love acts, love speaks up, love protects. David did none of those things. So you're taking away his future? His security? His child's security? His child will be fine. You both have jobs. You're both capable adults. You don't need my money to survive. But it's not fair. Parents are supposed to leave money to their children. Parents are supposed to be respected by their children, not told to pack their bags in their own homes." Vanessa's mask slipped for just a moment. "How long are you going to punish us for this?" "I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference." She stood up abruptly. "I need to get ready for work." After she left, David came downstairs. He looked haggard, like he hadn't slept well. "Mom, can we talk?" "Of course." He sat down where Vanessa had been sitting. "Vanessa's really upset about the will change, about Emily getting everything." "I imagine she is. Is it true? Did you really change everything to Emily?" "I'm in the process of updating my will to reflect the current situation, yes. But Mom, I'm your son. Doesn't that count for something?" "Of course it does. You're my son, and I love you. But love doesn't mean I have to give you my money, especially after you've shown me that you won't stand up for me when it matters. I'm trying to do better. We're paying rent. We're following the rules." "You've been following the rules for 1 week, David. That doesn't undo 14 months of allowing your wife to treat me like an inconvenience in my own home. How long do I have to prove myself?" "I don't know. But I do know that real change takes time. And it has to come from genuine understanding, not from wanting your inheritance back." He was quiet for a long moment. "Vanessa wants us to hire a lawyer, to challenge Dad's will. She can do that if she wants. She'll lose." Mr. Patterson said the same thing. "But she says all wills can be challenged. All wills can be challenged. Not all challenges succeed. Your father and Mr. Patterson made sure of that." She said we should have you evaluated, to see if you're capable of making your own decisions." My blood went cold. "Evaluated?" I told her no. I told her that was crazy. "You're perfectly fine." But she suggested it anyway. "She's desperate, Mom. We can't afford to move out, and she hates paying rent to live in a house she thinks should be ours." "The house is mine, David. Not yours, not hers, mine." "I know, but she doesn't see it that way. That's not my problem. That's your problem, for marrying someone who thinks other people's property should be hers." David flinched. "That's harsh, but true. David, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. If Vanessa pushes for an incompetency evaluation, will you support her?" He looked at me, and I saw the war in his eyes. His mother versus his wife, his conscience versus his comfort. "I don't know," he finally admitted. That afternoon, I went to see Dr. Morrison, my physician of 20 years. "Helen," she smiled when I came in. "What brings you here? You're not due for a checkup for another 3 months. I need a complete health evaluation, physical and cognitive." Her smile faded. Why? Are you experiencing symptoms? No, but my daughter-in-law is positioning to claim I'm incompetent, and I want documentation that I'm not. Dr. Morrison's expression hardened. I see. Elder financial abuse? Attempted? Yes. Let me get my forms. We'll do a complete mini-mental state examination, a depression screening, a physical health assessment, the works. When we're done, you'll have documentation that would stand up in any court. The evaluation took 2 hours. Memory tests, physical coordination, problem solving, mental status checks, depression and anxiety screenings. When it was done, Dr. Morrison handed me a sealed envelope. Perfect scores across the board. Your cognitive function is excellent. Your physical health is that of someone 20 years younger. You are fully capable of making your own decisions, managing your own finances, and maintaining your own home. Anyone who suggests otherwise is either misinformed or malicious. Thank you, Helen. I've been your doctor for 20 years. I've watched you care for your husband through his illness, raise your children, work full-time, and maintain your home. You're one of the most capable people I know. Don't let anyone make you doubt that. When I got home, Vanessa was in the kitchen making dinner, something that smelled expensive. I made coq au vin, she announced. I thought we could have a nice family dinner, clear the air. That's thoughtful. I want things to work out, Helen. I really do. I know we got off to a bad start, but I'm trying. She sounded sincere. She looked sincere. And that's what made it so dangerous. Vanessa, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you marry David? She looked surprised. Because I love him. Do you? Or do you love what you thought he represented? A doctor's son, a house in a nice neighborhood, a comfortable future. That's insulting. It's a legitimate question. Because from where I stand, you seem more interested in my property than in my son. That's not true, isn't it? You've spent 14 months acting like this house was yours, making plans for after I'm gone. And now that you know it isn't yours and won't be, suddenly you're cooking coq au vin and being sweet. I'm trying to make things right. Or you're trying to manipulate me into changing my will back. She set down the spoon she was holding. What do you want from me, Helen? I apologized. I'm paying rent. I'm following your rules. What more do you want? I want honesty. I want to know if this is real or if it's performance. It's real, she said, but her eyes said something different. That evening, we ate the coq au vin. It was delicious. It was also poisoned with false intentions and strategic kindness. And I knew, as I smiled and thanked Vanessa for cooking, that the real battle was still ahead. 2 weeks after the coq au vin dinner, I found Vanessa in my office, sitting at my desk, going through my financial papers. What are you doing? I asked from the doorway. She jumped, dropping a folder. Papers scattered across the floor. I was just looking for. I needed a pen. There are pens in the kitchen. Those are my private financial documents. I wasn't reading them. I was just... You were snooping. Looking for information you could use. Her face flushed red. That's not true. I walked into the room and started gathering the papers. Bank statements, investment portfolios, the deed to the house, all laid out on my desk where she'd been reviewing them. Vanessa, I want you out of my office. Now. Helen, you're overreacting. Out. Now. She left, but not before I saw the calculation in her eyes. She had been looking for something specific, trying to find leverage. I locked my office door after that and kept the key with me at all times. That evening, David tried to smooth things over. Mom, Vanessa said there was a misunderstanding. She was just looking for stamps. In my financial files? She got confused about where things were. David, stop. Just stop. Your wife was going through my private papers without permission. That's not a misunderstanding. That's snooping. Why do you always assume the worst about her? Because she keeps proving me right. The next day, I received a certified letter. It was from a law firm I didn't recognize. Dear Mrs. Harrison, we represent David and Vanessa Johnson Harrison. Our clients have concerns about your mental competency and your ability to manage your financial affairs. We request that you submit to an independent cognitive evaluation. If you refuse, our clients will petition the court for a guardianship hearing. My hands shook as I read it. They were actually doing this, trying to have me declared incompetent so they could take control of my house and my money. I called Mr. Patterson immediately. I'm not surprised, he said grimly. It's a common tactic when everything else fails. But Helen, you have Dr. Morrison's evaluation. You have documentation. They're going to lose. But they're going to try anyway. Yes. And I need to warn you, this is going to get ugly. They'll bring in their own expert. They'll try to paint a picture of you as declining, forgetful, unable to manage. They'll twist innocent things into evidence of incompetence. What do? You fight. And you document everything. Every interaction, every conversation. I'm going to file a motion to dismiss based on Dr. Morrison's evaluation, but we need to be prepared for this to go to court. That evening, I sat David down. Vanessa was at a prenatal yoga class. David, did you authorize that letter? The one demanding I get a cognitive evaluation? He couldn't meet my eyes. Vanessa's lawyer suggested it. That's not what I asked. Did you authorize it? I signed the papers, yes. You're trying to have your own mother declared incompetent. We're just trying to make sure you're okay, that you're capable of making good decisions. I am perfectly capable. I've been to Dr. Morrison. I have documentation. Vanessa says Dr. Morrison is biased because she's your doctor. She wants you to see an independent evaluator. Vanessa wants me to see someone who will say what she wants them to say. This isn't about my health, David. This is about my house and my money. That's not fair, isn't it? Your wife has been snooping through my financial papers. She's trying to find ways to prove I'm incompetent. And you're helping her. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From having control over my own life? David, I am 66 years old. I work part-time. I maintain this house. I manage my finances. I have no health issues. What exactly do you think I need protection from? From making mistakes. From being taken advantage of. The only people trying to take advantage of me are living under my roof. He stood up, angry now. You know what, Mom? Maybe you do need help, because you've become paranoid and bitter. You think everyone is out to get you. Not everyone. Just you and Vanessa. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're not yourself anymore. I'm exactly myself. For the first time in 14 months, I'm standing up for myself. And you can't handle it, because it's inconvenient for you. I'm done with this conversation, he said, heading for the door. David, if you go through with this guardianship petition, you will lose. Not just the legal case, but me. You will lose your mother. He paused at the door but didn't turn around. Maybe that's a risk I have to take. After he left, I sat in the silence of my house and cried, not for myself, but for the son I'd raised. The boy who had hugged me tight after his father died and promised he would always take care of me. That boy was gone, replaced by a man I barely recognized. The next week, Emily came over with her husband Tom. I heard about the letter, she said, hugging me tight. Mom, Tom, and I want you to know we're on your side. We'll testify if we need to. We'll do whatever it takes. Thank you, sweetheart. Tom, who was a quiet man but fiercely loyal, spoke up. Mrs. Harrison, I work in elder law. What David and Vanessa are doing is textbook elder abuse, financial exploitation attempt. They're not going to win, but they're going to make your life hell trying. I know. Have you considered asking them to leave? Every day. But they have nowhere else to go. And the baby is coming in a month. The baby isn't your responsibility, Emily said gently. They're adults. They made choices. Now they have to live with the consequences. But it's my grandchild, who you can see and love without letting its parents abuse you. Mom, you don't have to sacrifice yourself for David's mistakes. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked through my house, this house that had seen so much life, birthday parties, Christmases, graduations, Richard's last days, and now, this ugly battle with my own son. At 2 a.m., I heard voices downstairs. I crept to the top of the stairs and listened. Just need to push harder, Vanessa was saying. My lawyer says if we can show a pattern of erratic behavior. I'm not lying about my mother's mental state, David interrupted. I'm not asking you to lie. I'm asking you to reframe things. The way she locked her office, that's paranoid behavior. The way she changed her will, that shows she's being influenced. By who? By Emily, obviously. Emily wants the inheritance, so she's manipulating your mother against us. That's not what's happening. How do you know? David, your mother is old. Old people get confused. They get manipulated. We're trying to protect her, and you need to present it that way to the court. This feels wrong. What feels wrong is losing a $900,000 house because your mother is being stubborn. What feels wrong is raising our child in poverty because you won't stand up to her. We're not in poverty, Vanessa. We will be once we have to pay for childcare and a bigger apartment and everything else. David, this house should be ours. Your father would have wanted that. My father specifically wrote a will saying it shouldn't be ours if we disrespected my mother, because he was trying to control you from beyond the grave. It's manipulative and cruel. We're going to fight this, David, with or without your full support. I heard footsteps and quickly retreated to my bedroom. I lay in the dark, processing what I'd heard. They weren't going to stop. Vanessa was going to push this guardianship petition as far as she could, and David, weak as he was, would eventually give in to her pressure. I needed to act first. The next morning, I called Mr. Patterson. I want them out. I want to evict David and Vanessa from my house. That's going to be complicated. They're paying rent. They have tenancy rights. Even though they're trying to have me declared incompetent, even then, we'd need to go through formal eviction proceedings. Give 30 days notice. It could take months. I don't have months. The guardianship hearing is in 3 weeks. Then we focus on winning the guardianship case. Once that's dismissed, we can address the living situation. And if we lose, we won't lose, Helen. They have no case, but I understand your fear. That afternoon, I did something I had been avoiding. I went through all of Vanessa's social media posts from the past 14 months. What I found made my blood boil. Photos of my living room with captions like "Our beautiful home." Pictures of my garden labeled "Can't wait to make this space truly ours." A post from 3 months ago. Exciting plans for renovations once this place is officially in our name. She had been publicly claiming my house as hers for months, creating a digital trail that suggested she believed it was hers. It was evidence, yes, but evidence of what? Her entitlement? Her assumption? Her plans? I screenshot everything and sent it to Mr. Patterson. His response came quickly. This helps. Shows premeditation. Shows she's been planning to take the house for months. Supports our claim that this isn't about your welfare, but about property acquisition. That evening at dinner, I was quiet, watching, observing. Vanessa and David ate the meal I'd prepared, sat in chairs I'd bought, in a house I'd owned for 38 years, while plotting to take it all away from me. "You're quiet tonight, Helen," Vanessa said with false concern. "Just tired. You should rest more. At your age, it's important to take care of yourself. At your age." Always with the age comments. Always positioning me as elderly, declining, in need of care. "I'm fine," I said, just thinking about the future. The future? Yes. About what happens after the guardianship hearing. Vanessa's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "What do you mean?" "I mean one way or another. Things are going to change. Either you'll win, and you'll have control over my life and my property, or I'll win, and you'll face the consequences of trying to steal from me." "We're not trying to steal." "Yes, you are, and we both know it." The mask finally dropped. Vanessa's face hardened. "You're making this so much harder than it needs to be." "Am I? Or am I just refusing to be a victim?" "You're being stubborn and selfish. We're trying to help you." "No, you're not. You're trying to help yourselves. To my house, to my money, to everything I've built. It's going to be ours anyway when you die. Maybe, or maybe it won't. Maybe Emily will get everything. Maybe I'll donate it all to charity. The beauty of being competent is I get to decide." Vanessa stood up abruptly. "I can't do this. I can't sit here and be insulted." "Then don't. Leave. This is my home." "No," I said quietly. "It's not. It never was. And if you proceed with this guardianship petition, it never will be." The guardianship hearing was scheduled for a Thursday morning at 9 a.m. I woke up at 5, unable to sleep, and dressed in my most professional outfit, a navy blue suit I'd worn to parent-teacher conferences for years. Emily arrived at 7:30 to drive me to the courthouse. "You ready, Mom?" "As ready as I'll ever be." Mr. Patterson met us outside the courtroom. "Helen, I want to prepare you. They're going to try to paint you as forgetful, paranoid, unable to manage your affairs. Don't let them rattle you. Stay calm. Answer honestly. Let the facts speak for themselves." The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Judge Maria Rodriguez presided, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. David and Vanessa sat on one side with their lawyer, a slick-looking man named Mr. Chen. They wouldn't look at me. "This is a petition for guardianship," Judge Rodriguez began. "Mr. Chen, present your case." Mr. Chen stood. Your Honor, we're here today because David and Vanessa Johnson Harrison are concerned about David's mother, Helen Harrison. Mrs. Harrison is 66 years old and has been exhibiting concerning behaviors that suggest she may not be capable of managing her own affairs. What behaviors? The judge asked. She has become increasingly paranoid, accusing her family of trying to steal from her. She locked her office to prevent her own son from entering. She suddenly changed her will to disinherit David for no apparent reason. She has made irrational financial decisions, and most concerning, she has isolated herself from family members who are trying to help her. Do you have witnesses? We do. We'd like to call David Harrison to the stand. I watched my son walk to the witness stand. He looked miserable. Mr. Harrison, Mr. Chen began, can you describe your mother's recent behavior? She's been different. More suspicious. She thinks we're trying to take her house. Are you trying to take her house? No. We just want to make sure she's okay. Can you give examples of concerning behavior? David shifted uncomfortably. She locked her office. She won't let us help with her finances. She changed her will suddenly. Did she give a reason for these actions? She said we didn't respect her. And do you respect her? Of course I do. She's my mother. Mr. Patterson stood for cross-examination. Mr. Harrison, did you or your wife tell Mrs. Harrison to pack her bags and leave her own house? David's face went red. Vanessa said that, but she didn't mean yes or no, Mr. Harrison. Did your wife tell your mother to leave her own home? Yes. And did you defend your mother when that happened? Silence. Mr. Harrison, did you defend your mother? I was shocked. I didn't know what to say. So you said nothing. Did you later tell your wife that what she said was unacceptable? We discussed it. That's not what I asked. Did you tell her it was unacceptable? No. Mr. Harrison, are you aware that your father's will contains a condition that if you or your family attempts to force your mother from her home, you forfeit your inheritance? Yes. And are you aware that by filing this guardianship petition, you are attempting to take control of your mother's property against her will? We're trying to help her. By taking away her rights, her autonomy, her home, by making sure she's safe. Safe from what, Mr. Harrison? Safe from having control over her own life? Judge Rodriguez interrupted. Mr. Patterson, I think you've made your point. Mr. Chen, do you have other witnesses? Yes, Your Honor. We'd like to call Dr. Richard Moss, a geriatric psychiatrist who evaluated Mrs. Harrison at our request. An older man in an expensive suit took the stand. Dr. Moss, can you describe your findings? I conducted a brief evaluation of Mrs. Harrison last week. While I didn't find evidence of dementia, I did note signs of paranoid thinking and social isolation. She was resistant to my questions and defensive about her finances. These can be early indicators of cognitive decline. Mr. Patterson stood. Dr. Moss, how long did you spend with Mrs. Harrison? Approximately 45 minutes. And in those 45 minutes, you determined she was incompetent? I determined there were concerning signs. Did Mrs. Harrison answer all your questions correctly? For the most part, yes. Did she demonstrate any memory problems? No. Problem-solving deficits? No. Inability to manage basic tasks? No. So despite finding no actual evidence of incompetence, you're recommending guardianship based on the fact that she was defensive when a stranger asked intrusive questions about her finances? She demonstrated paranoid thinking. Or appropriate caution when dealing with someone hired by people trying to take her home? Judge Rodriguez looked interested now. Mr. Patterson, do you have witnesses? Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to call Dr. Sarah Morrison. My doctor took the stand, professional and calm. Dr. Morrison, how long have you been Mrs. Harrison's physician? 20 years. And have you recently evaluated her mental competency? Yes. I conducted a comprehensive evaluation 2 weeks ago. Mrs. Harrison scored perfectly on all cognitive tests. Her memory, reasoning, and judgment are all intact. She shows no signs of dementia, depression, or any other condition that would impair her decision-making. In your medical opinion, is Mrs. Harrison capable of managing her own affairs? Absolutely. She's one of the most mentally sharp patients I have. Mr. Chen cross-examined. Dr. Morrison, isn't it true that you've been Mrs. Harrison's doctor for many years and might be biased in her favor? I've been her doctor for 20 years, yes, but my evaluation was based on standardized tests and objective criteria. I'm a medical professional. I don't falsify evaluations based on personal relationships. No further questions. Judge Rodriguez looked at me. Mrs. Harrison, would you like to testify? I stood and walked to the witness stand, my heart pounding. Mr. Patterson asked me to describe the events leading up to the guardianship petition. I told the truth, all of it. The dinner where Vanessa told me to leave, David's silence. The 14 months of being treated like a guest in my own home, finding Vanessa snooping through my financial papers, the overnight conversation where she admitted this was about getting the house. Mrs. Harrison, Judge Rodriguez asked, why did you lock your office? Because my daughter-in-law was going through my private financial documents without permission, Your Honor. That's not paranoia, that's protecting my privacy. And why did you change your will? Because my husband's will had a condition: if my son or his family tried to force me from my home, the inheritance would go to my daughter instead. That condition was triggered when my daughter-in-law told me to pack my bags and leave. I was simply following my late husband's wishes. And are you capable of managing your own finances? Yes, Your Honor. I've managed my own finances for 40 years. I have substantial savings, investments, and no debt. I work part-time as a bookkeeper. I maintain my home independently. I'm not sure what part of that suggests I need a guardian. Mr. Chen stood. Mrs. Harrison, isn't it true that you're angry at your son and this is all about punishing him? I'm disappointed in my son. But this guardianship petition isn't about my feelings, it's about my rights. My son and his wife want control of my house and my money. They're using the legal system to try to take what they couldn't get through manipulation. That's a serious accusation. It's a true accusation, and I have evidence. Mr. Patterson pulled out the social media posts. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence these posts from Mrs. Vanessa Johnson Harrison's social media accounts over the past 14 months. He showed the judge the screenshots, photos of my house labeled our home, plans for renovations once this place is officially in our name, posts about how excited Vanessa was for our future in this beautiful house. Judge Rodriguez studied them carefully. Mrs. Johnson Harrison has been claiming ownership of this house on social media while it's actually owned by Mrs. Harrison? Yes, Your Honor. For over a year. This shows premeditation. This shows that the guardianship petition isn't about Mrs. Harrison's welfare, it's about property acquisition. The judge looked at Vanessa. Mrs. Johnson Harrison, is this your social media account? Vanessa stood, her hand on her very pregnant belly. Yes, Your Honor, but I didn't mean. You posted multiple times claiming this house is yours when you knew it belonged to your mother-in-law? I thought it would be ours, eventually. That's not what you wrote. You wrote, our home, our beautiful house, present tense, not future tense. Vanessa had no response. Judge Rodriguez closed the folder. I've heard enough. This petition for guardianship is denied. Mrs. Harrison is clearly competent to manage her own affairs. In fact, I find this petition to be frivolous and potentially malicious. Mrs. Harrison, do you wish to pursue sanctions? Mr. Patterson looked at me. I thought about it, about David, about the grandchild who would be born in a few weeks. No, Your Honor, I just want this to be over. Very well, petition denied, court adjourned. Outside the courtroom, Emily hugged me tight. You did it, Mom, you won. I know. David and Vanessa walked past us without a word. Mr. Patterson handed me a folder. What's this? Eviction notice. 30 days. After what they tried to do to you in there, I took the liberty of preparing it. All you have to do is sign. I looked at the papers. 30 days to vacate. End of tenancy. My house would be mine again, truly mine, without them in it. Can I think about it? Of course. But Helen, they're not going to stop. They're not going to suddenly respect you. They just lost in court, and they're going to be angry. It's only going to get worse if they stay. I know, but that's my son, and in a few weeks, my grandchild will be born. Your son tried to have you declared incompetent today. Your grandchild doesn't change that. He was right. I knew he was right, but still, I hesitated. That night, I sat in my house, alone, processing everything. I had won in court. My rights were protected. My competency was established. But I had lost something too. The last hope that David would choose me over Vanessa. The last illusion that family love was stronger than greed. At midnight, I heard a car in the driveway. Through the window, I saw David and Vanessa coming home. They went straight upstairs without acknowledging my presence. And I knew Mr. Patterson was right. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. 3 days after the court hearing, Vanessa went into labor 2 weeks early. David knocked on my bedroom door at 3 a.m. "Mom, it's time. We're going to the hospital. Can you come?" I looked at my son, exhausted and scared, and all my anger melted for just a moment. Of course. At the hospital, I sat in the waiting room while David paced. Vanessa had refused to let me in the delivery room. Family only, she'd told the nurses, as if I wasn't David's mother. 8 hours later, my granddaughter was born. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, perfect. David came out, tears streaming down his face. "Mom, she's beautiful. Do you want to meet her?" In the hospital room, Vanessa looked exhausted but triumphant. She held the baby like a shield. "This is Sophia," she said. "Your granddaughter." I looked at the tiny face, the small fingers, the perfect little human, and I felt love, immediate and overwhelming. "She's beautiful," I whispered. "We'll need help," Vanessa said immediately. "With childcare, with expenses. You understand, right? Family helps family." Even here, in this moment, she was already calculating, already seeing how the baby could be used to manipulate me. "We'll figure it out," I said carefully. Over the next 2 weeks, I helped where I could. I cooked meals. I did laundry. I held Sophia when Vanessa needed to sleep. And I watched my son transform into a father, gentle and attentive in ways he hadn't been as a husband or son. But I also watched Vanessa. Watched her hand me the baby when it was convenient and take her away when I got too comfortable. Watched her make comments about when we own this house, Sophia will have a real nursery. Watched her test boundaries, seeing if the baby would make me forget what they had tried to do to me. One evening, when Sophia was 2 weeks old, Vanessa came downstairs while David was bathing the baby. "Helen, we need to talk. All right? The court thing was a mistake. We were scared and desperate and we made bad choices. But we're family now. Sophia needs stability. She needs to grow up in this house, with her parents and her grandmother. Can't we just move past all of this? Move past you trying to have me declared incompetent?" It was my lawyer's idea. I never really wanted... Stop. Just stop lying. I heard you, Vanessa. That night when you thought I was asleep. You planned this. You wanted my house. You still want my house. I want my daughter to have a home. She has a home, with parents who can provide for her. You don't need my house to raise your child. But we have no money. We're drowning in debt. How are we supposed to give Sophia everything she needs? The same way every other parent does. By working, by budgeting, by making sacrifices, not by stealing from your child's grandmother. Vanessa's face hardened. "You're going to regret this. When Sophia grows up and asks why her grandmother hated her, don't you dare. Don't you dare use that baby to manipulate me. I love Sophia, but I will not let you take my home in her name." The next morning, I signed the eviction papers. 30 days notice. David and Vanessa had 30 days to find somewhere else to live. When I handed David the papers, he looked at them like I had handed him a death sentence. "Mom, we have a newborn. Where are we supposed to go?" "You have 30 days to figure that out. That's more than enough time to find an apartment." "We can't afford an apartment and daycare." "Then you'll figure something out, like adults do." "You're really doing this? You're kicking out your own grandchild?" "I'm enforcing boundaries with adults who tried to steal from me. Sophia is welcome in my life. You and Vanessa can be too, once you learn to respect me. But you can no longer live in my house." Vanessa appeared at the top of the stairs, Sophia in her arms. "You hear that, David? Your mother is throwing her granddaughter out on the street. I'm asking my adult son and his wife to live independently, as they should have been doing all along." "We'll sue you," Vanessa threatened, "for grandparent visitation. We'll make sure you never see Sophia again." "You're welcome to try. But judges tend to look unfavorably on parents who use children as weapons, especially parents who just lost a frivolous guardianship case." Over the next 30 days, the atmosphere in the house was toxic. David and Vanessa barely spoke to me. When they did, it was hostile or manipulative. They left Sophia crying in her room, knowing I would go comfort her, then accused me of overstepping. But I held firm. On day 28, Emily helped me change the locks. On day 29, David and Vanessa packed up their belongings, loading them into a moving truck with grim faces. "I hope you're happy," Vanessa spat as she carried the last box out. "Alone in your big house, that's all you'll ever have now." I'd rather be alone with dignity than surrounded by people who see me as a resource to exploit. After they left, I walked through my house. It was quiet, empty, mine. I cried, not from regret, but from release, from the weight of 14 months finally lifting off my shoulders. That evening, Emily came over with wine and takeout. "How are you feeling?" "Lighter," I admitted. "Sad, but lighter. David will come around eventually, when he finally sees Vanessa clearly. Maybe. Or maybe he won't, but I can't live my life waiting for him to choose me. I have to choose myself." 6 months later, I was in my garden when I heard a car in the driveway. David got out, alone, carrying Sophia in a baby carrier. "Mom," he said, his voice tentative, "can we talk?" "Of course." We sat in the garden, Sophia sleeping peacefully between us. "Vanessa and I are separating," he said finally. She never stopped trying to manipulate, never stopped seeing everything as a transaction. I finally saw it. "What you saw all along." "I'm sorry, David." "I'm not. I'm sorry it took me so long. I'm sorry I chose her over you. I'm sorry for everything." "Where are you living?" "Small apartment downtown. It's not much, but it's mine. I'm learning to budget, to live within my means, to be independent." "That's good." "Mom, I don't expect you to forgive me right away, or ever. But I want to try to rebuild. I want Sophia to know her grandmother. Not because we need something from you, but because you're important." I looked at my son, really looked at him. I saw regret. I saw growth. I saw the beginning of the man I had hoped he would become. "We can try," I said carefully, slowly, with boundaries. "I understand. And David, if you ever, I know, if I ever disrespect you like that again, I'm out of your life permanently." "I get it, Mom. I really do." Over the next year, David kept his word. He visited every other Sunday, always asking first. He brought Sophia but never asked for money or favors. He started therapy. He rebuilt his career. He became the father Sophia deserved and, slowly, the son I had raised. Vanessa tried to use Sophia as leverage, threatening to deny visitation, but the courts sided with David when he sought primary custody. They had seen her manipulation tactics before. As for me, I lived in my house. I tended my garden. I had coffee with Emily. I held Sophia and told her stories about her grandfather. And for the first time in years, I felt at peace. My name is Helen Harrison. I am 67 years old. I own my home. And I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to be a victim.